You know, my dad the other day, like he was sitting there, like, who is this Patreon? Who is it? Like, are you giving money to someone? And it was like, because like they just took $20 out, and I was like, Patreon, and he was like, yeah, who is that? And I was like, that's the company, the money you're giving for us. And he's like, oh yeah, okay, and he just like walks away.
Hello, my name is Apophis from Digital Empire Development, and today we're going to be making our first devlog video. First of many to come in the future. The current plan is to do them once a week, and we'll basically just sit down and discuss with each other on video what we've accomplished in the past week or so, and maybe talk a little bit about what we intend to do for the next week, month, year, just plans for the future, things like that. Meant to be a bit of a casual thing, just to keep you guys up to date on what's going on with Soul Prime, what we intend for it to be, and just to keep everybody updated. We will be releasing them publicly on YouTube every Monday, and if you are a supporter on Patreon above a certain level, I don't remember, I think it's $5, you'll be able to see them early on Saturday. Just a little perk, a little way of saying thank you for being a supporter of that. Anyway, I'm joined now by Monotrox and Soggy Piggy, the two other team members, and we will be talking about what we've done in the past week, and a little bit more, in fact, because this is the first one, and obviously we've had a little bit longer than a week to work on this. So without any further introduction, please enjoy. Alright, so what I've been working on for the past week or so has been the user interaction on the planet surface. So that would be your building and things like that. So most of this is currently non-functional. You can think of it as an in-game mock-up of sorts. So the only thing that actually works is down here. This has a little mild piece of functionality, and you can click on it and place a population residence in-game. But one thing that I think is neat about this tile is it's got these colored bars on here, and these would, in the future, when I actually add the actual functionality behind this, these would in the future be the different stats of this particular object. So, for example, blue might be, the productivity of a particular kind of machine. The red might be like the amount of heat that it produces, and the green would be maybe its power efficiency or something like that. So you can tell, like, if you have different versions of a population residence, would be kind of strange for those particular stats, but if you have 3 different versions of that, you would say, like, okay, well, I need one here that's going to be power efficient, so you'd pick that one at a glance. And then, of course, if you want more details about, like, its actual numbers, you can always, you'd always be able to find that out. So like I said, almost none of this is actually functional, but in the future, things would be implemented. Like this blue bar is in the future going to be the planetary shields. The green would be the amount of power that's on the planet, which right now would be 0 because there's no power plants or anything. And then this grid down here would be where you pick different structures to place, and that would be where you choose your components for building and things like that. So the other thing that I have been working on this week has been, I've started to work on the system for getting something that is on this planet, like a resource or a component or a machine or anything like that, to a different planet, and obviously that would entail putting it on a spaceship in the meanwhile. So down here, and all of this is work in progress, it's very early, so excuse it looking like shit. So if you click this docked ships button down here, this is an example of what this dock menu might look like, assuming that you have 6 identical clones of the same ship, all named the Endeavor, and all being Dreadnought class. By the way, Dreadnought is probably the coolest word in the English language.
Definitely agreed.
I definitely like that word. Alright, so at a glance, you can tell its hull percentage, its shields, how much cargo space it has, and how much fuel it has. So this would be a way to say, alright, so which of my ships need repair, which of my ships are full of cargo that I would need to maybe transfer either to another planet or maybe to this planet, things like that, which ships need refueling, Just all of this would be right available to you, and then of course you'd be able to get more information if you need it. But like I said, right now none of this is actually functional. So the other menu that I did sort of an in-game mock-up of would be the transfer menu, and that's misspelled, transfer. So if we want to transfer some cargo to this dreadnought, we'd click on that, and it would bring up this menu. Now, none of this is functional currently, of course, but this is an example of what this might look like. In the future, I'll probably slim this down quite a bit. These probably don't need to be so huge, so maybe you can see more on one screen. And in the future, you'd be able to filter out viewing different types of cargo. Like if you don't care about raw resources at the moment, you can turn that off. Same with components and then your placed machines. And one thing, going with the same paradigm of at a glance, like looking at something and seeing exactly what type it is, the colored bar at the top of these little blocks is meant to indicate the type of cargo that it is. And I believe that the orange brownish one is a raw resource, and yellow is a component, and this kind of aqua color is a placed machine. And of course they're all named population residents because Control-C, Control-V is way faster than actually typing things out. So in the future you'd be able to say click this gigantic button and move this population residence over to the ship. Then you'd be able to go here and undock the ship from the planet. Then you'd go into the space view, pilot it to another planet, dock it there, and then dump your resources onto that planet and do whatever you want with it there. So check back next week for some progress on that. That's pretty much what I'm going to be working on the next coming week. And that's what I've done for the last week and a half or so. Who wants to go next?
Yeah, how about first we talk about like the stuff at the top of the screen there, just so we can
Oh yeah,
get,
sure.
like, some things on that.
Right, the top of the screen. Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that. I didn't really remember that because I did most of this a long time ago. The only thing that's really changed is the UI. But basically, up at the top we've got our population, the happiness, and the amount of food. Just some rough indicators of that. So population on the left here. This is basically the maximum amount of population that you can have. Each population residence right now does 10 to your max population, and it increases by 1 population. Now obviously this is all for debugging purposes, and in the future it's going to depend on what your population residence is made out of, and as far as growth rate is concerned, that's going to depend a lot on food, happiness, luxury items, things like that. But for now, none of this is really implemented besides just you place a population residence and you get population. So check back on that again. A lot of the game will revolve around sort of population management, because that will drive a lot of your work that you need to get done, especially early game.
Cool.
All right.
So I guess I can get. So basically, stuff I did is more like material-based, visual-based, stuff like that. It's nothing too terribly complex or anything. I thought I had some clouds here, but I guess I don't. So I'll just bring in like some ones from underneath. I don't know where these went. I guess they decided to be invisible. I might have to do this. We're gonna ignore those. Alright, so those aren't the interesting ones anyway. These are the interesting ones. And I just hid this under the map because this is an kind of an obnoxious light that happens just for the sake of I don't know why. And I also have this invisible here. So if I set the cloud opacity to 1, you can see some clouds. This took me a little while to make, but I think they look pretty good. Basically, this is just a little mini cloud system that I made for dealing with storms and things like that. If I was to go ahead and simulate this, you'll see some lightning effects just happening in the middle of that. That's just a thing we bought off of, honestly, the Unreal Store. So that's nothing crazy. I had to do a few modifications to get this work with our cloud system and all that in general, but I think it looks pretty nice in general.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So we'll definitely have that in our game at some point or another. Currently, like, there's no real dynamic weather effects going on. Much like the previous stuff, this is all mostly mock-up. We're all just playing with stuff and seeing what we can add to the game to make it work. So this is just sort of a proof of concept, if nothing else. The other stuff I've got going on here, get that out of the way. I have some nice lava effects going on. Really, this is just a material on a plane. It's nothing super fancy, but I've got a lot of nice variables I can play with here that let me do a lot with it. We have some really cool looking lava. Set the scale up and down however we need to. One like neat effect that we were playing around with that we just kind of found is if I set this value to a negative number, we get this like weird purple glow. Which
It's very interesting. You could use that for like an alien planet or something like that. It'd be very cool.
Yeah, we can use that for a lot of different stuff, and all of these like variables allow us to make this look just pretty much however we want without really doing anything in the material to like have variables for color and stuff like that. So I just kind of like the idea of being able to do whatever we need to.
Right.
But
So
aside from that, we've got some water as well. This is like pretty temporary, but it's basically just a material with a little bit of displacement going on. The actual texture the water's using is pretty placeholder. It doesn't look bad. I don't mind it. It's just
it's definitely serviceable. Definitely serviceable.
But yeah, you can see some of the displacement working over here, going up and down the landscape. So
a question about the weather system before my mic falls over on me. What do you have any plans for that being like something that would maybe impact gameplay, or is that more of just an aesthetic thing? Would you think?
I'd like it to impact gameplay quite a bit. Like rain, for example, I could expect to impact like the heat generation of certain machines, things like that.
Sure.
Obviously, weather on certain planets, if there's snow effects, if there's stuff like that's going to drastically affect things.
Right.
I could see even like dense fog or something like that, which, I mean, we can already basically do. If I take this and move it up a little bit, I was going to show this before, but I kind of forgot about it. As opposed to having this look like clouds, we can actually put this like sort of somewhat in the ground here and set the opacity, let's say like 0.2 maybe. Let's set that to 0.1, 0.05, whatever. We can just like play with some effects, get some interesting fog going on.
That looks really cool.
Like, we could probably implement some sort of like humidity type feature with that. Which would maybe trap in a little bit more heat, cause increased heat as opposed to rain, which would decrease it. Just
maybe it would make make your choice of energy generation systems. Maybe it would alter that because, like, you know, solar panels would be far less efficient if they're never getting any sun.
Right, which we can pretty much detect if
sure
under a shadow potentially. So yeah, I think weather would play a huge role. I'd like for that to be something that people have to think about.
Very cool.
So that's about all I got. Oh, actually, last thing, I forgot I made this so I could see it. So this is a ship. You can't see it because I didn't want you to, but I made the lights visible so I wouldn't forget about it.
Which you almost did anyway, to be fair.
I saw it right at the last second. I caught it. So basically what this does, it's really basic. We really just made this for the teaser, but I'd really like to implement this in the actual game. So basically what it is just like a volume collapse field. I found this on YouTube of all things. Like, I think the Unreal staff made some sort of tutorial on, or the Epic staff made a tutorial on how to do this. And I just figured I'd implement it. And, well, let's just say it looks pretty cool. So basically, like, the general idea is it collapses the entire mesh into one specific area, which is really awesome. But what it basically gives us is a really nice warp it effect. So if we're like actually
really
warping
cool,
ships across somewhere, whatever, we can change the color of this, the length, and stuff like that. But you get this really awesome warping just anytime you want a ship to like come into an area, and that could be really cool if we end up doing like some sort of weird hyperdrive stuff or anything like that. So didn't want to leave that out. Awesome looking ships.
For sure. Alright, so that's it for you then. Anything else that you forgot?
Nothing else I can think of. We've got some other weather effects that, we intend to implement, but currently it's just not on the character, not in the game yet. So, wait until later to show those off.
All right, cool. So, Kill's turn then.
You're gonna have to give me a bit. Because it's not generating resources, like, on that planet.
Oh, really?
It's crunch time.
Alright. I was testing if it was recording sound and the levels between me and you and everything.
Okay.
Titus sounds like he's in a tube for me. I don't know why. But that's not my problem. That's Titus's problem. Okay. All right. So
Also, Kill,
yes, I'm ready for it.
since you have the honor of going last, you get to do the outro shit as well.
Fuck me.
Just go ahead and tack it on the end whenever you're finished.
All right. So what do you want me to say on the outro? Because
Patreon, website, Twitch, Twitter. You watch YouTubers, you know what they do. Just do that.
don't. And the ones I do don't do that. Like, I watch like Filthy Frank.
Yeah, this isn't gonna work.
Yeah.
Just go.
Well, just fucking do it now.
It'll happen. We'll figure it out. It's fine. Just go.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So I oh God, no. Okay. So I'm having a hard time, guys, right now. I'm not laughing. I do. All right. Like, follow, and subscribe. Thanks.
No,
You're not done yet.
All right, so some of the things I've done on the project is starting up the initial space battles, like such as making the lasers fire and making the lasers in general, such as materials. I've also started up the space shields, and hopefully we'll be able to make them a little bit better, such as they show where they've been attacked from instead of just showing the whole shield. And I can turn off lighting so you can get a better visual of the ships and the shields in space. And there you go. And another thing that has been that I worked on for the space aspect is the trade routes. The trade routes are resources that planets are sharing between each other, and this is the visual for it of that planet trading with a planet down. Okay, not down. That planet is trading with that planet. As you can see, the material was set to have a panner to send it that way, and later on, you'll be able to click onto the trade route, and it will display information such as the exact resources and their properties that are being traded between the planets.
So is the color of that just arbitrary? Just like pick a random color or what?
Currently, it is just arbitrary since it is for visuals, and we'll be adding the back end system to it later on. But the colors will be the representation of the resources on the planet. The nodes will have a color representation of the resource, and it will be shared with this as well. So you'll be able to look and see the colors that the planet has and know what resource is being traded if you've memorized it in your game. Alright, I'm going to start saying words. Alright, so that's it for this week's devlog. Hopefully we'll have you... we're not going to have you.
I have no idea where you were going with that.
Alright, that's it for this week's devlog. Hopefully you'll come back and see other devlogs we have in the future with more features that we've implemented into the game. Like, follow, and subscribe on our YouTube, Patreon, Facebook, Twitter, and you can check that all out in the description below.
Forgot Twitch.
And Twitch.
We stream regularly on Twitch, so feel free to check us out whenever you see us online.
Okay, here, and I'll just do this.
That was fun.
I'll just do, also, you can cut this into there. And we also stream regularly on Twitch. Is that how you pronounce regularly?
Yes.
Regularly?
Regularly. Alright. And we stream regular.
I'm sorry. Go on.
And we stream regularly on Twitch, so you can check us out there. Good?
Yeah,
Sure.
thanks for watching. See you guys next time.
Oh my god.